Iran's supreme leader is praising his regime's retaliatory strike against the United States over the killing of one of its top generals. And this is new today. We have learned 11 Americans were treated for concussion symptoms following those attacks. The Ayatollah went after President Trump with insults and suggested the president cannot be trusted.
These American clowns, who with lies and utter evil say they stand by the Iranian people, they should see who the Iranian people are.
And the Trump administration firing back.
We have seen protests against the Iranian regime in Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. The Iranian regime is facing a crisis of legitimacy and credibility. We expect that to deepen in 2020.
Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano, Vice President for the Heritage Foundation's Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy. Colonel, good to have you on the program.
Good to be with you.
I want to start with how much we are seeing and hearing from the Ayatollah Khomeini. How significant is that?
Well, that is huge. He has not been to public prayers, according to sources, in 8 years. So him coming to public prayers and making this declaration, this seems to be all about domestic Iranian politics and not really about the confrontation with the United States. It's him trying to put a strong face on the administration and on his government, and really saying is we are the ones speaking for the Iranian people. Look, he would not be doing that if they weren't really, really nervous about the level of anger and mistrust inside of Iran today.
So how is that level of anger and mistrust in Iran? And by the way, their inflation is 47%. I mean, the minute those 3 days after General Soleimani was killed by our U.S. forces drone, the minute all of that melee in the streets backed off, they went back to the realities of their economy. So how much pressure is that putting on? What is that reality like?
Well, you have to remember that the Iranians have essentially been going to the streets. Some Iranians have been going to the streets since 2017. In many ways, this is just an extension of ongoing protests we've seen against the regime, and really blaming the regime for their circumstances, not blaming the United States, the protesters, for the sanctions, but blaming the Iranians for essentially taking all the money and spending it on surrogates, spending it on adventurism, and not really investing in the Iranian people. Now, look, we don't know how really widespread that is, but when you see things like the Iranian students, and remember, Iranian students were once the foundation of the revolution, walking down the street and then consciously trying to walk around images of the American-Israeli flag, we haven't seen anything like that since somebody took a sledgehammer to the Berlin Wall.
Wow. The Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, has said his country is enriching more uranium now than before the Obama era nuclear deal. Let's watch and I'll get your response.
Today, as I stand here in front of you, we have no limits about the nuclear energy. Absolutely none. Today, our daily enrichment is more than before we signed the JCPOA.
Colonel Carafano, your response.
Well, I think the number one lesson we should take away here was the argument that somehow the Iran deal or the JCPOA was slowing Iran's nuclear program down is simply not true. Look, essentially what they did is they went right back to what they were doing, and they're producing even more now than when they signed the deal. So it never limited their nuclear program. I think it always also gets to the other issue, which I think people just get wrong, which is they think of the Iran nuclear program and building towards a nuclear weapon as some kind of conveyor belt. And when we do things like JCPOA or bomb them or something, that we're slowing or speeding up the program. And the reality is Iran will become a breakout nuclear state when it wants to, and when it suits them best. And the external activities aren't really affecting their capacity to become a nuclear weapon state if they want to be.
Wow. Colonel, good to have you on the program today. Thank you very much.